Hey guys. Seems like you caught me on my normal Friday evening. Coming home at 1 in the morning, prepping a nice bowl of office O's, and being so exhausted from hours of mundane work that all I can muster is mindlessly watching meaningless content for hours on end. Being a paint watcher sucks. Don't they have cameras for that? Anyways, today's my birthday, so I went a little crazy and jazzed up my office O's with some extra pencil shadings. Nothing else like it. I'm living the dream. It's just a shame that there's nothing on when I get home that entertains me. Feeling there was something to make my life, my evenings, a little more fun. Oh well, what can a lowly paint watcher expect on his birthday at 1 in the morning that also just so happens to be National Stub Your Toe Day, where everyone is required to stub their toe when something disappointing happens. What is a man to do? What the?
It's time to play the music. It's time to light the light. It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show.
Kermit the Frog. Why does that sound so familiar?
It's time to dress up right. It's time to raise the curtain on the Muppet Show.
Ooh, Kermit and gang, you have done it again. Let's see what's next for the No, it can't be. I finished every piece of Muppets media already? But I haven't felt this much joy since the 15th annual Stub Your Toe Day. I have to tell somebody. There has to be more Muppets media out there somewhere. Time to convince them to bring the Muppets back. Before we start discussing why they're so great, we have to know, who are the Muppets? Birthed in the early 1950s by the godfather of creativity, Jim Henson, the Muppets are an ensemble cast of puppet characters that have starred in just about everything you can think of. The first character to consistently appear on TV was Ralph the Dog on The Jimmy Dean Show, a personal favorite of mine. The dog, not the show. Kermit also appeared in some sketch comedies and commercials, but he wasn't nearly as famous of a frog as he is now. However, the Muppets were always intended to be directed towards adult viewers, unlike his then current project Sesame Street, so Henson produced 2 pilots of The Muppet Show in the 70s and pitched them to just about anyone who would watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the end of sex and violence on television. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Muppet Show.
I think I'm gonna skip this one. Eventually, in 1976, The Muppet Show was given the green light, allowing for new characters, new gags, and a whole lot of sex and violence. Wait, I didn't mean to say that. However, what's really interesting about The Muppets is what came next. The show was critically and commercially successful, and after winning multiple Emmys, The Muppets extended their reach to film, starring in their own solo movie, along with reimagining all-time classics like Treasure Island and A Christmas Carol. This only grew their popularity as cultural icons, and it was during this time where Jim Henson entered talks with Disney to merge the two. 14 years after Jim Henson's tragic death in 1990, Disney eventually bought the rights to the gang in 2004, only growing their conglomerate. The Disney era has brought some quality Muppet content, but nothing nearly as successful as the original show. There were some fantastic music video covers, such as their take on Bohemian Rhapsody, where Gonzo and his chickens composed the iconic opening shot, the Muppet movie in 2011 that had banger after banger, and Muppets Most Wanted in 2014. In the following year, the Muppets even got their own show on ABC akin to The Office. It only lasted a season, but still, there was content. But since then, the Muppets have had little more than short sketches, some improv shows, and a Halloween special. Now, the Muppets actually having a fanbase may seem a bit crazy considering their content. There have only been 2 eras of consistent Muppet productions, that of the Muppet Show and movies in the 70s and 80s, and also around 2011 and 2015, with the latter only consisting of 2 films and a single season show over the course of 4 years. You may be wondering, why should they be brought back? Why do they still have a fanbase? Well, Mr. Mouse, I'm glad you asked. What makes the Muppets special is that they aren't just puppets, they're celebrities that exist in the real world. From their adventures of globetrotting through real-life locations like Manhattan to starring on live late-night talk shows, the Muppets aren't like other iconic characters where we wish they were real. The brand is that they are real. Ever since their inception, the Muppets have been marketed as personalities that exist in our world. Their talk show had celebrity guests, and they would appear on other shows as if they were people. Each of the members even have their own Twitter accounts and follow each other like a celebrity friend group. However, they never became so serious that they were bogged down by reality. The Muppets may have Prince as a guest, but they'll also have Gonzo shot out of a cannon in the same episode. They carefully balance actuality and fantasy, which allows people to believe in something as ridiculous as a talking frog. The perfect representation of this is the Muppets movie that came out in 2011. The film follows a Muppet that lives outside of the Muppet crew, as if they're creatures that exist in our world, and the main group are just normal celebrities. This Muppet, Walter, along with his brother Gary and his fiancée Mary, travel to LA. When there, they visit the worn-down Muppet Studios and team up with the original cast to fund a new version of the Muppet Show. The movie straddles the line between complete fantasy and reality, as the Muppets coexist with humans in real locations, deal with financial struggles, and feel insecurities about their place in the world, while also calling attention to the absolute lunacy that takes place, such as characters addressing the fact they were just in a montage, traveling by map, and breaking out into song. All of this to say that the Muppets are branded in a very specific way that creates the illusion of reality despite being so, well, fake. Nobody addresses the fact that they're puppets because they feel real. I can only imagine calling Kermit a puppet to his face would hurt his feelings. This can be credited to their unique humor, which is a blend of raunchy adult content and slapstick for any age group to enjoy. They don't feel like a children's show because they aren't made for children. They're goofy yet serious. They make you smile and laugh at the worst of times, but also have emotions and personalities of their own. You don't often see Mickey Mouse expressing any emotion but happiness, busting his windpipes with Elton John, or having a drumming contest with Buddy Rich like the best of the Muppets. And it is this blend of imagination and reality that makes the Muppets so special. But still, why do people play into the illusion? Why is it Scrooge-ish to not believe in the Muppets? Why does this altering of reality matter? Why do we care about the Muppets? As life perseveres and kids mature, we have less time to be creative. Eventually, we start leaving creativity to the artist, as if indulging in that wondrous childlike imagination is no longer possible in the real world. But that all changes with the Muppets. When watching them, we see frogs and aliens interact with real people, with the world around us, with people like you and me. Suddenly, the world isn't a place where we're constrained by the responsibilities of day-to-day life, but a place where you can see a frog walking down the street or a bear giving a stand-up show. Kermit himself puts it best in his TED Talk when he says,
Imagination and inspiration, well, those are just words we use around kids. But for grown-ups, well, those are just nice words in some corporate mission statement. Our real job is to make a living. Well, folks, I am here to say that is wrong, or at least self-deceptive, you know? Because I believe creativity is an inherent part of everyone.
The fact that he even has a TED Talk shows the unique cultural landscape they exist in. Being comically fake creatures that teach people lessons through informational presentations encapsulates everything they're about. A lot of adults have become complacent to the mundanity of growing up, but the Muppets represent the opportunity to return to childhood and become creative once again. Meaning, the simple act of believing in the Muppets allows one to explore their imagination, something Kermit says is an inherent part of being human. Watching the Muppets is allowing yourself to be creative, and in a time where we never allow ourselves any time to indulge in such imagination, the Muppets are a comfortable return to an innate part of us that so many ignore.
I mean the passion to do something creative because you can't not do it. That's the most important thing to me. Not doing it is not an option. I mean, sure, we all have to earn a living, but we also shouldn't be afraid to wander off down the trail of creative risk-taking once in a while and explore a whole different way of thinking and living and doing. Genius is no more than childhood recaptured at will.
That's why it just feels so right to love the Muppets, and kind of wrong to ignore their existence in our world. In the Muppets movie, the Muppet studio has been bankrupt and the gang has to come together to raise money for their new show. It's financial instability, a problem many can relate to, except they solve this problem by allowing the Muppets to express their creativity and win the hearts of millions. It is through the dedication to and the rekindling of imagination that the Muppets solve their very real problems. Call it romantic, call it immature, but they're not trying to be anything different. Because Jim Henson knew people needed an outlet for creativity, especially the adults he was targeting. We don't want to see the Muppets not solve their problems without song or dance or not traveling by map, because that would destroy their core message. that creativity and imagination is inherent and can make one's life worth living. As stated before, the Muppets also rope the adults in by having mature humor. They don't solely return adults to a childlike state of mind, they bring that imaginative state of mind to adulthood. And this is why the ABC Muppet Show is such an interesting case. On one hand, the production is perfect because it has the Muppets interacting with the real world more than ever. The Muppet crew is working to get a new show on the air, famous celebrities are routinely on the production, and the cast has real conflicts, like the relationships between Fozzie and his girlfriend or Kermit and Miss Piggy's. However, part of me thinks this may have been too real. The grounded nature of the show and office meetings didn't leave much room for traveling by map or a laugh track. In a way, it seemed like the Muppets are stand-ins for humans, and when the Muppets start to lose part of their goofiness, then you're not necessarily blurring the lines between reality and imagination. Do I really want to see Kermit unwind after a hard day of managing a struggling show and a difficult relationship with Miss Piggy at Ralph's bar? I mean, on one hand, I do. I love seeing these characters interact in real-life spaces and have problems. But on the other hand, it seems a bit too real for the same talking frog that raised $10 million in one evening. I think the original Muppet Show worked so well because there was adult humor that was complemented by silliness, instead of adult humor surrounded by adult problems. To me, it seems like the ABC Muppet Show doesn't capture the perfect balance of goofy creativity and reality like the Muppets movie or the original Muppet Show did. And when you're taking the imaginative component out of the Muppets, then you start to lose what people love most about them. So that being said, why do we love the Muppets? We love them because of their wild stunts, their charismatic interactions, their raunchy humor that complements their absurdity, and the larger-than-life stunts that somehow manage to take place in our world. In other words, we love the Muppets because we love to see imagination brought to life. The Muppets represent an opportunity to be creative. Seeing this cast of characters walk down the street in the Muppets movie is so satisfying because it shows us that the world isn't so bleak. The Muppets were targeted to adults for a reason. The humor pertains to an older demographic in order to brighten their world through childlike creativity. They're at their best not when cramped in office buildings and stressing about relationships, but when supplying laughs for any age demographic, while also bringing those who need it back to a time where a talking frog didn't seem so weird. It's absurdity in the real world that appeals to everybody. And how could you not love that? Well, now that I've finished every piece of Muppets content, I guess it's just time to continue living in this mundane existence. Getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to work overtime for a boss I think is secretly cheating in our fantasy football league, who also put in the lowest bid despite making more money than all of his employees. Coming home promising to start cooking for myself just to order in again, and mindlessly consume content that gives me the perfect amount of joy to keep me preoccupied from thinking about my boring life, while also not being too intellectually challenging until I fall asleep with a trusty bowl of Office O's in one hand and existential dread in the other. Hey, I think, is Kurt about to give his next monologue?